But I've spent time both in local government and in state government, and that's where I know many of you from. And I'm going to just start by saying one of the big issues, certainly in local government today, and it disproportionately impacts Black people, and I didn't say people of color, I said Black people specifically, is homelessness. In the city of Los Angeles, we're roughly 8% of the population and almost 40% of the homeless population. And those numbers don't differ in some instances when you go from city to city. So I'm actually going to throw this out because I made this up as I went along. And I'm not sure who's going to go first, as to say, how does your city attempt to address homelessness? And I don't know who starts. We just...
Hi. Well, homelessness is a huge factor in Santa Monica. I've got, out of about 93,000, 92,000 residents, the amount of our residents has been dropping over the last year and a half. But homelessness, we have over 1,000 homeless people on our streets in any day. And that goes up by 50% in the summertime. So in Santa Monica, we have invested heartily in programs to reduce homelessness. We are partnering with Los Angeles County anywhere we can to get their resources to bear as well. But it is a significant issue. And honestly, I was at the U.S. Mayor's Conference last week in Washington, D.C., and I was quite encouraged to hear a federal emphasis on dealing with, working with our homeless population, working on mental health, which is a significant amount of the problems with homelessness as well. And I haven't heard as much as I want about ways to re-enter those people into society. It can't be that we are comfortable leaving them on the streets to die. It is not compassionate. Whatever race they are, whatever ethnicity they are, it doesn't matter. We have to do better. It's not compassionate when I have 2 people die in my city over a weekend on the streets. It is not compassionate to my residents. It's not compassionate to our businesses. And it's certainly not compassionate to those people that we're walking over and leaving behind. So we have 8 different homeless agencies working on the streets. I want more. I believe every person that's homeless in my city needs to be contacted every single morning and again at night by a social worker. That we have to do better. We've just received a Los Angeles County mental health ban that 3 years ago was promised to us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We got it a week and a half ago. Business hours, business hours Monday through Friday. Well, we all know, just from our own lives, when you're trying to go to sleep at night, your head starts swirling. Imagine if you're relegated to an alley in my city, or any city. So we're still not getting enough support, we're not getting enough help, and the illegal drugs, the drug poisoning of fentanyl, it will kill you within 2 years. We have to change that scenario.
You know, thank you for your comments, Mayor. We're all back. Yes, he should have an applause. The 3 of us were back at the U.S. Conference of Mayors just last week. I'm a trustee for the U.S. Conference of Mayors, meaning that I'm in the executive level, but we all are in the same gang here. I want to talk about best practices. In our city of Fontana, we have partnered with the church, Water of Life, with a congregation of over 30,000 members. Part of that is that we, for the last 12 years, as a result of myself when I was just a council person and the prior mayor and the pastor going to Texas, to work on a program called CityLink, where you link the city with faith-based communities. And I'm gonna tell you, I firmly believe that is the route that is going to end this problem, because it does take people with compassion. You cannot expect results from groups that are funded to eliminate the problem with the fear of the funding. But that's just my own fights I have with people. We, since that time, have not only tried to work on the homeless situation in our city and the region, we also are doing a lot of homeless prevention. And I think all of us here used ARPA money the last couple of years to keep people in their places where they live, particularly families. So CityLink on a daily basis not only just helps people, feeding 1,000 families a week, assisting with clothing, assisting with resources. They do case management, where once you're signed up, they stay with you a whole year to make sure you make it. Let me give you what has happened as a result. They now call the program Showers of Blessings. They have a mobile shower unit that not only services Fontana's homeless, but the whole region. They particularly spend a lot of time in the city of San Bernardino, which in our county is the epic center. In Fontana, we know we have today 249 homeless people, but one homeless person, in my mind, is too many. Many of them do not want to take the resources, and that's why I firmly support our governor's program, Care Court, because this will allow us to help those individuals that cannot make those decisions on themselves. If somebody's laying there on the unit and talking to themselves all day, they're not going to reach out and get help. And to your comment about county, keep in mind all the funding predominantly goes through the state to the county. And I always get into my county counterparts because you guys close on Friday at 4 o'clock. What am I supposed to do Friday at 6 p.m. when I go out and find someone that needs assistance? Give them your card and tell them, get in touch with these folks on Tuesday, okay? We have got to, and that's what we are doing in our conference, beginning to tell the federal level, we don't need a middleman. We want to be as aggressively funded as you're funding those other entities, because we're on the street. We have all these groups in our police department. I have 15 officers dedicated to homelessness. I have the host team, which is comprised of homeless service-orientated officers. We have a doctor, we have a paramedic, anything, we have a behavioral health tech. They go out daily helping our homeless population. Then we have the coast team, which is community outreach. And as you know, cities not only are dealing with homeless issues, we're dealing with people in their homes that are having mental episodes. You go to a hospital now, you better be really ill. You better be on a stroke and you're on your last leg, because you're going to be confronted in that emergency room with someone that is 5150 by an officer. You'll see more of the police departments at the hospital emergency holding up the line while they get these people assistance. So that's why we created these specialized teams, so we could keep our officers on the street, and this team will sit up all day with you until the county is able to come pick you up. There are so many parts of this equation that people don't realize. We were fortunate a couple of weeks ago to open up 41 spots. We call it the Bright Hope. We took families out of cars. We had one family that particularly touched my heart, because I make a point whenever we're doing programming, I am there. And the reason why I do that, and these mayors understand that, unless your staff sees you really engaged and compassionate about an issue, good luck. And so they know, they never know when I'm gonna drive up. So, with that said, we had one little girl that her mother had them in the car for the last year. She was taking them to school, she was taking them to bathrooms at 7-Eleven. She was trying her best to work. It was just, I just hugged her, because this was a mother, and she was an African-American mother that was determined, despite her situation, she was gonna raise her 4 children, none of them over the age of 10. When the pastor and I walked in the room, and he was looking at the facility, which was just beautiful, but our church members, because I'm a member of that church, had provided welcome baskets, they had furnished everything that mom needed to have a home, a shelter. The little girl told me she had a pillow, she was trying to take the pillow outside, and they had a guide. We had people that were going to help guide them back to society. You know, how do you live in a home again? You can't take anything for granted when you're dealing with people. They've forgotten. They don't know what their steps are. And so she asked the little girl, where are you going with that pillow? She said, she looked me right in the eye, and I will never forget that look. And that's my commitment. She said, I want to take it to the car. Can I take it to the car for tonight? I couldn't even answer. And the lady explained to her, said, honey, you no longer have to sleep in that car. Those 2 beds, that's your bed there. And she probably wasn't over 5 years old. She said, what about my sister? She said, that's her bed. So she turned around and told the little one, we're sleeping here now. And the little one said, really? She said, yes. People are not grasping what we're dealing with. Too much rhetoric and not enough action. Okay, that's right. Do I have the mic on? Okay, good. You know, how many of you have actually, and just following up, and I probably will see where this is all related, because we're in here talking about the economy, African-American businesses and everything. But we, and I'm, you know, Mayor Robertson, City of Rialto, and I just want to say, dealing with the homeless is not, or I call unhoused, is not somebody else's problem. It's all of our problems in our community, our business community, our employees. It is not, it's a 24/7 matter that has been with us before pandemic, and we went through pandemic, and it's still here. And so I want to ask, because a lot of us are sitting here right now, but I believe I heard on the news today and this weekend, is we're doing the annual point in time count. Well, those numbers are good to some degree, but how many of you have actually been out there and participated in the point in time count? Okay, I have before COVID, but I went out there and I saw that there's structures and societies of living and explaining how to deal with. She just, Mayor Warren and Mayor Brock, as we said, we just came back from the U.S. Conference of Mayors. It was our winter session. Now we will have an annual meeting and we'll have a leadership meeting. But we found in the winter session, we received notice, she's on the board, we had 74 new mayors joining us at the winter session in Washington, D.C., and they weren't all newly elected mayors. We are, as mayors, I find myself as the representative, the constituent service person, the designated constituent coordinator for the city of Rialto. We were in Washington 2 years ago with President Biden when he was elected. He came into the room and I said, you know what, I'm a mayor, but I don't know if you remember, he told us we are his field generals. I said, oh my God. Now I just had the commander-in-chief elevate me to a field general. And I wear that position, I wear it with honor. Because one thing she just said is the employees and the staff that deliver service, they're on the clock, maybe 7 to 7, 7 to 6. But we're there 24/7. And one thing they will often tell people when they call about anything, and business, my developers and anything, well, let me work on it. We don't want to get the mayor involved. When you get the mayor involved, things move, okay? Because we have time frames. And I want to go back to the homeless situation because we in our city, we have a service that is a social service group called Social Workers Action Group. They are the way we contract to coordinate, interface, and be on the boots on the ground 24/7. Working, I'm in between Fontana in San Bernardino County, the largest county in the nation, not just the state, and between San Bernardino City. We look at our numbers. We have to work together. Let me just say, she said her numbers right now is 249, like a static number. San Bernardino to the east,
which is my city, their numbers, their count is 1,000. I'm in the middle, the smallest, probably one of the smallest little geographic cities in that whole region, and I have a count number of 90. And I'm thinking, you've got to be kidding. How can I have 249 on one end, 1,000 on the other end, and I have 90? When did they stop bordering? They transition to wherever services are and wherever the sun comes up, and then when the sun goes down is where. Those numbers are, for me, arbitrary. We can just pull them out because we're all in it together. And so, when businesses focus and realize that we can't just shoo someone away or move it, because what she spoke about and whatever, there's a lot of resources that are being dedicated to provide services. And I want to bring this home to say, most of us are in here and we have some type of a business. And transportation infrastructure has always been the #1 place where the bulk of the money goes to. But how many of us are also in the profession of healthcare services, running our own businesses, interfacing and helping to be a part of that, because that's also an African-American business. Someone who's with me right now who happens to be the mother of the young lady who just sung for us, she is a therapist. And these are the people, even in nonprofit or profit, that are helping us and working with us side by side. So I want to make sure we remember there's so many other areas and small business, back to Ms. Tara, that when we did the pandemic, we rolled out a lot of money to help keep our businesses get back up to speed, back going. But we need to continue to press that, and not just press it on the dollars that are for the infrastructure or for water and energy, but we need to make sure we are at the state and with the governor, and he gets it, that mental health is a disease in our nation, and it's not just tied to the homeless. And so I just wanted to mark on that. I also want to take a moment and say that we were going to have, I don't know the pictures that are up, but we were going to also have Mayor Rex Richardson with us with the City of Long Beach, and I believe Mayor Nancy Young. I know that I heard that Rex, we were all in DC. We were all there together last week. I'm hearing that he's a little ill. And then the last thing, to piggyback on everything that's said, because all of us are mayors in what's known as Southern California Association of Government, better known as SCAG. SCAG is our Metropolitan Planning Organization. I have to put this picture because they were kind enough to sponsor us. But SCAG is the Metropolitan Planning Organization in California, but they are all over the United States. We happen to be, you're looking at a group that represents 6 counties, 191 cities, and roughly 19 million people in the state of California, but we're the largest metropolitan planning organization in the nation. So that should tell you something, that, and those counties are Los Angeles, Ventura, San Bernardino, Riverside, Orange County, and Imperial County. We have a large lion's share of the economic activities going on in here, and we are the largest in the nation, the largest county. And these are some things that, we really need to know about, because I find that a lot of people don't even understand how significant we are to the overall United States economy. So I just want to end with that. Thank you, Ryan.
I want to throw something out. One of the largest business operations for people of color is one that I've been in for the better part of 47 years. It is the ownership of a rental property. And I can tell you that many of us, particularly African Americans, if you're in Los Angeles or some cities, you feel like a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest. The city of Los Angeles, for example, just said this week that if my tenant wants a dog, I have to accept the dog. Now, if the dog brings fleas, I have to pay for the extermination. And I have to put the tenants up in a hotel while the extermination is taking place. For the last 4 years in Los Angeles, I couldn't raise the rent at all. Zero, goose egg, nada. So I've got a friend, for example, and I'm going to get back because I want to talk about housing a little bit as well, because we talked about homelessness. He bought his building 12 years ago, and he has a 3.5% interest rate. He has an adjustable rate mortgage. The mortgage is going to go to 7%. But the city will not allow him to adjust the rent to compensate for the fact that his interest rate has doubled. Yeah, that's right. It's your fault. You should have known that the interest rate was going to go up. And so it's your fault that we ain't going to raise the rent. So now you're going to take the dog, your rent's going, your interest rate's going to double. So what has begun to happen in Los Angeles, and I'll go back to the panel, is Los Angeles has damn near 15,000 vacant units. Why? Because why would I rent and go through all of the hell that I got to go through in Los Angeles when I can just let it sit empty and write off the losses? So again, I go back to the mayors because some of this happens at local government. State government was not totally out of the picture. In 2011, the state eliminated redevelopment agencies. I'll close with this idea that I hope everyone can grasp. A house is 5 things: land, labor, materials, permits and fees, return on investment over time. If you want to have affordable housing that is below cost, one of these 5 has to give. You can pick it, but one of them got to go. And in Los Angeles, for example, there was a bond, HHH, and they built an apartment building on 87th and Vermont. The 2-bedroom apartment in that building cost $850,000 to build. Well, shit. So I say to mayors,
Somebody can tell the senator he's on tape.
Well, you know, whenever you're dealing with, I'm in Santa Monica, we're doubly bad. So you've got it good in LA. And I happen to be an owner of a couple of very small apartment houses. 4 units at Venice, some units at Hawthorne. We haven't been able to give increases. Rent, our expenses, inflation last year was 8-9%. How do you keep rental prices down for your tenants when the regulations are A, stifling, and B, a lot of small apartment owners, mom and pops, me too, mom and pops face so many, we had a city council meeting Tuesday night where we adopted more rent control provisions. We made it harsher on landlords. And I said, at one point I said, how do mom and pop landlords keep enough money to pay for plumbing and paint the building and do the things that they should feel pride in? Not ripping off tenants, but just feel pride in, because then the tenants will feel pride in living there. And the answer was from ex-mayor who's on the council, was simple. Well, look they made all that money in their equity. So I came back and said, so you're saying that every small business owner of that type has to dip into their life savings or take out a mortgage on their property, which they maybe just paid off, just to be able to keep their tenants in. And Santa Monica now, LA adopted 100% rent behind before you can be evicted. Santa Monica adopted 150%. And so that means it may take you 5 to 8 months if nobody's paying, if someone's not paying their rent.
And that's 100% of market rate. So if your rent's below market rate.
Well, that's the thing. All my apartments are below market rate. That's just the way I operate. I don't want to lose tenants, and I want tenants to feel it's their home. But that's one issue. When they sell those buildings because they're so frustrated, corporations come in and buy them. And corporations don't give a damn about the neighborhood because they don't live there. They live in another state and it's their equity. So, yeah, or another country. So those people who are mom and pop landlords in neighborhoods, those people, we want to preserve that part of small business because if we lose it, it's corporations. All of you see at midnight, 1 a.m. if you're up, those ads that come that say, hey, we'll buy your house. No, we don't want us, we don't even care what shape it is, we'll just buy it. And you read the news these days, and corporations now own a majority of real estate in the nation. And rental housing. Well, in Santa Monica, as in your cities, there's RENA. There's all these things the state has put in to build housing. My vacancy rate in Santa Monica is about 11 to 12% right now. We're building like crazy. And some of those apartment houses in our Pico neighborhood, which is our diverse area of our city, when those get purchased, they're going to be combined to large market rate and affordable housing complexes where the people who lived in our neighborhoods for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, went to the first AME, went to places in our city, they're going to lose their housing. We're going to lose that section of the black community. And in Santa Monica, the black community has dropped. But I'm a native Santa Monica, second generation. Now, I was in the first blacks, I was reminded of this Tuesday night at council. I was in the first Black Studies program at Santa Monica High School. I was in all those different things, and I was in sports. So my friends were the spectrum. And now a lot of those have left the city because A, they either can make more money by leaving, and the housing prices are skyrocketing, or frankly, they now don't feel welcome in our city. And I'm sorry to keep going, but I just got a letter last night from a young man who played for me when he was 10 years old when I was working at the Boys and Girls Club. And he sent me a letter from the tenants combined in their 24-unit building. Apartment house hasn't been painted in 53 years. The laundry service, they said one person could squeeze in barely to open the door to get laundry. The building is basically falling apart. Crime's gone up on Delaware Avenue. And so they're looking at it and saying, hey, we need a fence around our building. We need those things. And that's a predominantly African-American building where the landlord doesn't give crap about them staying, would like to get rid of them. We have to stem that, turn that around, because black equity in apartment houses and houses in South LA, all through California. That's how black people were able to get equity for education, to help their kids grow up and do better. Sorry I talked so long.
Thank you. And by the way, in case you guys don't know, Phil also happens to be a small business owner in talent agency.
I have a different situation. I grew up in South Central, which you can't say that anymore, South LA. My sisters always remind me of that. And when I was married, I was in Compton. And I got tired, I was fighting with everybody. And I said, I can do it better. And so I had to convince my then husband, let's get out of here. But then after growing up through the Watts riot and then the Rodney King riot, he got up the next morning and said, start looking. I was consulting in a city called City of Upland, which I was able to retire in 2015 after almost 29 years working there. But part of that journey for me was how important housing was. And I was one of those people that I would buy the land, I would move the house on the property and then sell the house. A lot of people have always asked me, how did you start your money? And I was doing development, but I was doing it quietly because I worked at the bank. And I would get the first notion of what was going south and take advantage of it. And that was legal. But what I did was go to families and say, you got this gigantic lot. I got a house that's sitting on stilts in Arcadia. I would love to move that house there and give you an opportunity to have that as a rental. And I did a few of those, but then my ex got scared. He told my dad, I'm the husband. I don't even know how this money works. All I know is she'll tell me I can buy a new car from time to time. So my dad came to talk to me and said, look, you're the wife, he's the husband, act right. So, fine. But the reason why I say that, you have to have a plan. When I got to Fontana, and I did get involved in politics, and I did get involved with the city, when I was appointed in 2002, we had redevelopment. Our mayor was a man of compassion, and he and I are still good friends. Matter of fact, he's running CityLink now. The thing we did is we went on steroids putting in affordable housing. We have over 2,100 units, and they look like regular apartments. People get mad when they don't qualify to move there because they're so beautiful. The other part we did is we did rental assistance with education. You can't stay here forever. Go buy your own stuff. Our income level in Fontana went from 61,000 to 93,000. We just got tagged on market hub. You hear the rumors, warehouse, Warren, all these warehouses. No. The majority of those big buildings are manufacturers, and they pay well. And those jobs are going to our residents. So it's all for us, upward mobility, and rent control is not a word used in Fontana because everyone tries to work together. But we do have a lot of NIMBYs, so we are turning our corridor, Foothill, into apartment units so our young people, our cops, our teachers can afford to live in the city where they work. But we sit down with developers and let them know from the beginning, you're not pulling that crap out here, okay? They call Fontana and San Bernardino County the Texas of California, and that's the reason. I've had the opportunity to sit down with developers and actually show them design changes so that they don't have to spend so much money. And they are now working with their design teams to say, everybody got to give on this project so people can afford it. Our houses are in the millions in some areas, but they're also as low as 400 in some areas. But we are working closely with our residents to assist them to have that upward mobility and to be able to afford those homes.
Thank you. You know, and just to follow up on what they were saying and what Rod pointed out that's going on in Los Angeles County, rent control and situations here. In San Bernardino County, we don't have rent control. And you know, when you look at it, there's a couple of things that when you're involved in, like districting, setting up boundaries, rent control, and the other one that I think about all the time is putting term limits. Well, I love that one. Not my colleagues lately, they want to have that conversation about term limits. I said to them publicly at a council meeting, term limits, you don't need to have to spend money and put it on the ballot. Term limits is when they don't vote for you and you don't win. Your term is up. I don't have to spend no money for that, you know? Okay. And then I'm bringing it back to some of the issues that we on the ground, day to day, are working through with a collaboration of colleagues. And they smile because I think all of us, I know we're general law cities. And then there's charter cities such as Los Angeles, Santa Monica, San Bernardino. And so there's a different form of government. And how do you, business people, those of us, all colors, African American, small business, Asian, how do you deal with and understand the process and get going? I just want to say, we talk about what's happening in LA. I hope you guys know that there's been a migration. It's the second wave of the Great Migration. And it's in California. If you're not leaving California, most people, to what he's saying, is leaving LA County and the coastals and moving to San Bernardino County. We're the fastest growing county, and especially in the high desert, because of what Mayor Warren said. They're not all warehouses, or somebody likes to come up to my council meeting and call them concrete coffins. I said, you know, well, I don't see them as concrete coffins. I see them as job centers, manufacturing, And even one that I have is a mattress company, manufacturing mattresses. Well, even in a manufacturing, they have to bring in raw material. And if they're gonna be productive, I say they can't bring in raw material in the back of somebody's car, in the trunk. It's a process, and we need to accept that. So for me, I welcome, and we didn't go into all of our background. I love what Toke says because it's a process. And one of the things I want to say, when he put up the quote about the struggle, but one of the things that most of us in here have resiliency, and we know how to endure and keep our eye on the prize and moving forward. We're very spiritual, and it's not just amongst the African American community or amongst the Hispanic community. We have to, we lead by sight. What is the statement? It's by sight, but you have to have faith. Faith is something you can't see. And I'm very biblical, very spiritual, but I don't spend time like her up in the church. Because see, sometimes I don't want to get struck down by somebody that's sitting around me. And but I have to, we wanted to have this mayor's panel perspective, and she's looking at me. Hey, I don't need to sit there. Go close with a prayer anyway. I don't need to be coming up in here.
Crazy in 5 seconds.
But we're going to close. I hope that, I don't think we have time for questions, but I just wanted you to understand that we are here, and when they tell you, or at least in my city, I can't speak for her or him, when they tell you, oh, well, we don't want to involve the mayor, because we don't want to get her in an awkward situation, and they tell that through a third party, I tell them, if we're going to move it, because my attitude is, I want to build this community. I was not born and raised in the Inland Empire. I am a first generation born in California, in San Diego, California. I welcome the fact that I had the opportunity to be born in a border city where the border aligns with another international country, nation. And at a time when we were dealing with I feel like that border discussion is a way to deflect and cause us to take sides. What does it mean? Why are we concerned with that? We all need to come into this country, in this state, and people who are coming here, this is why I tell the kids, and I'm gonna close with this. We live in a land of laws. And I told you I'm the kids' mayor. We live in a land of laws. If you don't like the law, you can change the law. If you don't like the land, you can leave the land, okay? I choose to stay here in this land. And when you're exiting, because you're going somewhere else, and wonder why those people are trying to come here, I don't want to live in a land of anarchy. I like to live in the land of laws and feel like I can do something to affect the change the law, and be a part of the law, understand the law. I have a legislative background. Some of you know in this room, I was also a deputy of Caltrans District 7, Los Angeles and Ventura, External Affairs. I had legislative body, I had the governmental side, I had public affairs, and then I also was the certification chief in Sacramento for the DBE program. And I had the wonderful pleasure of going out and having to do the certifications to ensure that those businesses were legitimate DBEs. It is nothing, if some of you know how the road used to roll. Someone's wife would be the 51% of the business, had no idea what engineering business was all about, but they were in the DBE program. I started with Caltrans in 1988. I started in San Bernardino County. I ascended up the ranks to Sacramento. Over the head of the program, Civil Rights, was Algerine McCray. I was the certification chief. There was another side. And then I promoted to the deputy of external affairs here in Los Angeles. Been there, done that.
I'm gonna close up because I don't want them to bring that book. And Mr. Mayor, you got your mic up, so if you...
I just had 2 minutes on a different topic.
Okay, well...
I was looking at what Toke said, what this young lady said, and I started off as a teacher, inner city LA, Crenshaw High, Hamilton High, and a teacher, coach, etc. But it struck me that where we're really messing up still is with our children. Our children need those opportunities. They need to see other black-owned businesses. They need to visit those businesses. They need to see people of their own color having success. They need to, when they're in high school, we just funded a program in Santa Monica Tuesday night. Still not enough money. But when high school students are thinking about colleges, how are they going to pay that $125 school application fee? We, in every city in California, need to help our children and our teens succeed. That's after-school programs, that's during-school counseling, that's also mental health. That is making sure, when we used to have in the 90s, we called it latchkey kids. Now we got no parents at home. Those people are working. We've got to change that if we want to see black income rise, the rise of small businesses. Those children, those teens have to see success from other people. They need to have those mentors. And I'm sorry to interrupt on that, but I believe that is so incredibly important.
Absolutely. And to that note, we have the Fontana Mayor's Education Coalition. We are serviced by 5 school districts. So all the superintendents sit to the table with me. And we are exposing our children to other careers. Because I've always felt in 9th grade, if you didn't tell your teacher I'm going to college, you got stuck in a corner somewhere. Now we're not doing that. We have CTE programming all over our city, and it's making a difference. But just one more thing I'd ask of everybody. Those nonprofits and groups that are working with our homeless, find out the percentage of African-American men they are helping. That's right. That's the problem. That's why we're the highest. I've been in meetings where they forgot I was there. I don't know why people always do that. I'm black. Why are you guys talking crazy? And I'm sitting right here. I don't get that. I don't know if it's my personality or what. They tell who they are. It's harder to work with the brothers. No, it's not. You don't understand the brothers. You haven't been with the brothers. Please, until we stop the money going to groups that are compassionate toward everyone, nobody is going to win.
Right. And let me just add, I know we're going to close, but on that same note, other things that we do, to your point, I have Deborah Robertson Foundation. Nonprofit organizations can help. I started Deborah Robertson Foundation for a number of reasons. I want Robert Sacedo to stand up because Robert Sacedo, along with me and others and Captain Daniels, we run aviation symposium for aerospace. There's so many jobs in aerospace, and it's about certifications, but they have to be exposed to it. And we've been fortunate, but I started my foundation, and Mrs. Davis, I'm gonna tell you, we may not be, I won't be able to walk into a classroom and say, okay, I'm a billionaire and everybody's gonna have a free ride to college. Can't do that. But I can help one, because I believe in the starfish, okay? I started the Deborah Robertson Foundation with a commitment with Mrs. Davis's daughter being the first one. She's not in here. She was selected to go to college at the ripe old age of 13, 8th grade, selected to be at Cal State Los Angeles, and she hadn't even gotten out of middle school. She's now in her 3rd year. I made a commitment. I do gap funding. My commitment is whatever her daughter gets in scholarships, financial aid, work study, no loans. My foundation is committed that I will do the gap funding and to pay the difference to keep her from going into loans. And she is due to graduate next year at the ripe old age of 17, and she will not come out of school, anybody having a student loan. She won't even be able to vote yet. Okay, she can't even, she's just gonna maybe get a driver's license. She turned 16. She is even ahead of her schedule to the point that we have to think like that. We have to come up and do whatever we can do. I may not be able to make a difference for all of them, but I'm gonna make a difference for that one. And I'm gonna follow that thing. We have to figure out how we can get creative and give back. Look back, give back, and move forward. Because it's not over. You know, it really isn't.
You are so correct. You're helping one person at a time.
We're going to gonna get out of the way, and I know that the people coming with the hook, I'm gonna leave you with a poem. 'Cause
Please.
I'm old, and they do that. This poem is actually 35 years old. Born to be ignored. Homeless people, Lord knows you can't afford their sorrow. Give today and for, absolutely sure they'll be begging more tomorrow. Nobody respects anyone who begs. Those the system wrecks, it also rejects. What? It's a crime, shame, but who do you blame? Or those who became lost cargo, gone down to defeat, sleeping in the street, scavenging to eat, the refuse. Losers on all scores, dwellers without doors, turn to you and yours for rescue. For through cracks in the floor fall these homeless poor. Poverty's hardcore, terrible eyesore. What pitiful to view, yet annoying too, because as they beg, they truly vex you. Hate so being faced by those souls displaced, so you go by in haste, unheeding. And as you pass by, desperately you try to deny their eyes a meeting. Well, you believe in good and stuff like brotherhood, and Lord knows you would do more if you could. But the problem's vast and seems bound to last, so you hurry past their pleading. Beggars learn to hide much of pride inside. Hunger is their private tutor. Poverty is the crime for which they do time. Thanks, ma'am, for the dime. And you, sir, desperate for bread, as they gaze ahead, their eyes fill with dread. How may they stay fed? But that bridge must be crossed, or else all is lost, because on that coin you tossed, no future. Thank you.